problem with words is lately they don't mean what we think they mean. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that the woke and people pushing critical race theory, especially into our schools, have redefined the meanings of words to the point where we think we're safe, we think our kids are safe, we think everything's fine, and then we find out after the fact that something we thought was okay turned out not to be okay simply because we defined some words differently than the school did. One example of that would be critical thinking. It's a term schools use a lot. They talk about it in their mission statements. They talk about it in a course description, that that's what their goal is, to encourage critical thinking. They also use terms like civil discourse and, listening and multiple perspectives and things like that. And we think that means that our views or our children's views will be respected and appreciated, but we don't really think it through, I don't think. And I want to call this to your attention because, unfortunately, if you have children in the public schools, actually in any school right now, even in private schools, you're going to have to get much more precise about your use of words and your understanding of words used to communicate with you. Let me give you an example from today. I was scrolling Twitter and I came across Erica Sanzi's post about a high school I actually know very well in Illinois, New Trier. She says one high school in Illinois adopted a statement officially setting expectations for civil diverse discourse. This is one step districts and schools could take right now to push back on growing trends of suppressed speech, compelled speech, and acceptance of only one point of view. Now let's look at what their statement was. New Trier Township High School believes that a fundamental aspect of our mission is to develop critical thinkers who can navigate a complex world through civil discourse, respectful inquiry, engaged listening, and open consideration of multiple perspectives. Key to fulfilling this charge is the cultivation of a school environment in which all students feel welcome and free to express a wide range of ideas. Our firm commitment to this principle reflects not only New Trier's obligation to prepare our students for their future, but our belief that the open exchange of ideas lies at the core of a democratic society in which individuals are accountable for their actions and treat one another with dignity, compassion, and respect. Now, when I saw that, the skeptic in me, the jaded cynic in me lately, said this: oh, I hope this is the real kind of critical thinking and not critical theory style critical. One way schools get around these declarations is by labeling specific disagreement or opinions uncivil. In other words, your speech is violence in and of itself. It's no longer part of civil discourse because of the specifics of the ideas it represents. And she says, I think it is. Here's more. Peter Tragos, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, explained the statement this way. The purpose of this statement is not only to integrate it into the annual plan, if not preface the annual plan, but really take an institutional stand or statement on civil discourse and critical thinking, staking out a claim that we engage and challenge students to think, to listen, to discuss real and controversial issues of the world, and develop the skills to navigate multiple perspectives and think through our own assumptions, beliefs, and biases. Now, I'm not a dog, and I can't hear the high-pitched dog whistles the dogs can hear, and I even hate the term dog whistle. But there's a few in both these statements that I can't help but notice. But before I go into them, let me give you a little background on New Trier. By the way, I said afterwards, sorry for being so paranoid. If I hadn't seen this type of thing twisted in my own child's charter school 2 years ago, I'd be happy too. It was so hard to rally support from other parents because their kids weren't talking like mine was, and they read statements like this as fact. Okay? So, New Trier High School is in Winnetka, Illinois. Winnetka, Illinois is one of the wealthiest towns in America. My brief career in teaching was in Winnetka, Illinois, at the Greeley School, an elementary school. Now, it wasn't woke at the time. It was 1991, but I would say it was fairly left of center. This is a union district. And New Trier specifically was quite left of center. I had a favorite student. You're not supposed to have favorite students, but I did. Favorite first grade student. She was brilliant. She was gifted. I even babysat her after, working for the school. I checked up on her a few years back. We lost touch after she went to New Trier and then went to college, even though we had written back and forth a couple of times. And I checked out her Facebook, and she lives, I believe, in the Seattle area, and she is about as far to the left as you can get as far as woke goes. And looking at some of the things in her Facebook, it's clear that, things that she did in Trier probably influenced that. That's not to say that someone can't turn out woke from any high school. I'm just saying that plus other stories I've seen in the news about New Trier and their travel down the path towards wokedom over the last 5 or 6 years led me to be so skeptical. Okay, so I have some experience in this specific district with at least one student who went to this school, and so I think my skepticism is warranted. All right, but after making those comments, another person happened to dig into it a bit, and she says it has since been removed, found in the Wayback Machine, but this was New Trier's Equity Work 2020 information. So here we have Equity Work 2020 to Board of Education from Paul Sally. This is July. Culture, Climate, and Equity Annual Plan Update and Summer 2020 Work. And let's look down here. Our core values and beliefs in the area of culture, climate, and equity are stated in New Trier 2030 are: we believe in equitable, equity, inclusive, and welcoming climate is not only necessary for students to learn and support student growth, but is ethically in alignment with our mission. We believe that an equitable, safe, inclusive, and welcoming climate creates the conditions that allow individuals to reach their full potential. That's just pablum. I mean, everybody says that. Is built upon respect and the appreciation of differences. Please define respect and appreciation, and differences while we're at it. Holds individuals accountable. By the way, that's what they say every time they cancel someone. We're just holding you accountable for their actions. Actions sometimes are silence. Remember, silence is violence. So we have to get a definition of actions. We have some hypothetical, examples, and creates access to justice. Now, if that's not a loaded word these days, I don't know what is. Can you please define justice? And what do you mean holds individuals accountable for their actions and creates access to justice? For whom? Okay. We believe that all students, no matter their race, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, innate abilities, or academic levels, have the right to equitable opportunities to pursue their interests and have the right to a rigorous and rich curricula and inspiring instruction that promotes intellectual growth, exploration, and risk-taking. We believe what makes our school better for the most vulnerable students makes the school better for all students. Well, I would ordinarily agree with that. But again, what do you mean makes it better? Our goals in the area of culture, climate, and equity, as stated in New Trier 2030, are to create a culture of equity that appreciates and celebrates differences. There's that word, celebrates. Why do we have to celebrate differences? Think about that. Let it sink in. Across the school by exploring individual identities and the identities of others. There's the word identities. To create a culture in which students define their identities more holistically beyond academic achievement and level placement. And that's when we start getting into all the little identity markers. To create a culture that reduces stress and teaches students the strategies to effectively manage the stress they experience. So again, we're getting into safety culture. This is where we can start talking about if you say something that makes somebody else feel stressed out, now suddenly that might be something you need to be held accountable for and is no longer in the field of civil discourse, even if you said it very politely and it simply was a difference of opinion. This is what happened to my daughter at her school. The difference of opinion she held was labeled as violence. And actually, it wasn't even her opinion, it was the opinion of a friend. And because she was associated with this friend, she was equally guilty. So again, civil discourse, interesting. Depends on some of these other definitions of words. To create learning environments and curricula that encourage empathy, create interpersonal connections, embrace diverse identities, there it is again, and explore multiple perspectives. To create an environment in which each individual's needs are met. Good luck. And in which every person feels they belong. You cannot control someone's feelings. You can create a culture that it promotes that. But I mean, what about learning? to identify and promote those parts of our culture that enhance learning and a sense of belonging, such as our dedication to service, compassion, critical thinking, and empathy, right? It is with these core values and goals in mind that we have pursued our work on equity through the 2019-2020 annual plan, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see if we get any further. Department equity goals. Each department area set a specific equity goal and form an equity committee within their department. 2 representatives from each area were part of a school-wide equity goals committee led by Tim Hayes, Denise Dubrovic, et cetera, et cetera. The departmental work encompassed curricular, instructional, and professional development goals as appropriate in the areas. Affinity groups. Segregation. Affinity groups have existed in New Trier for a number of years. Did I not say it? Did I not say it? I told you. These are groups of students who share an identity and meet in a supportive environment to share experiences, socialize, communicate, and educate. Our support and connection with those groups and their leaders increased significantly in 2019-2020. New Trier's existing affinity groups we have are Black and Brown Club, Black Student Alliance, Latinx, Muslim Student Association, Skittles, Students Identifying As, LGBTQ+, Transgender, Gender Expansive Group, Mixed Race Affinity Group, and Young Asians with Power. In addition, this year we've created a coalition of these affinity groups to increase their voice and help students connect and share experiences. Notice anything missing? Yeah. If you're white and you're straight, you don't get to be in any of these. Not that you should, because these really shouldn't exist either. This year, we expanded our promotion and use of Trev tips to help students share experiences and concerns about incidents that impact our campus climate and detract from the school having a safe and respectful learning environment for all. The concerns that students can share include personal safety or safety of another student, hazing, harassment, or bullying, or incidents of hate speech or bias. So how much you want to bet? How much you want to bet? Let's see if there's anything more here. Oh, yes, it goes on. Now, again, this is 2019, 2020, and supposedly have changed it. I'll take a look at that in a moment. But in the spring of 2019, as stories about racist photographs in college yearbooks made national news, hadn't happened here, but national news, ergo we must change our policies. New Trier High School faculty, staff, students, and administrators questioned whether similar images may exist in our school's 118-year history. In response, New Trier Civics and Social Justice class, the Voices on an Equity student group, and other student volunteers decided to examine New Trier yearbooks dating back to the school's founding as part of a class project. They went all the way back to the founding, as if people are actively looking through these yearbooks for any purpose. This is how they spent their time. They discovered examples of early racist cartoons and jokes, as well as photographs of students in blackface, of students and faculty in Native American headdresses, 118 years, and face paint, and of students in costumes meant to represent other cultures, either in school productions or during dress-up days such as Halloween. After listening to the students, the administration committed to developing a statement that is provided to anyone who uses our yearbooks. The statement acknowledges and expresses regret for the pain, fear, and... Do I need to keep going? I think you guys get the point. Okay, so that was then. So their current plan, Equity 2020-2021. Our core values and beliefs, blah, blah. And let's see, what has changed? Nope, I see nothing different. So far as I'm scanning this, identities, belong, revisited, moving towards, however, we know that much other work done at the school is fueled by the commitment to the strategic annual plan. Below is a short summary. This is the exact same stuff. It's identical. I'm glancing through this. I'm not seeing anything. Oh, and now we've added. Wait a minute. So not only is nothing changed there, we've added professional development and leadership. We're going to have a half-day workshop on understanding Islam. We're going to have Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. We sent 6 faculty members from the diversity professional. Where is it? They sent 6 faculty members to a 2-day understanding whiteness and its impact on teaching and learning workshop for white teachers in February. They're planning to have the facilitators host the workshop in New Trier for the faculty. So then the people who went to it are going to come and teach all the other faculty. Restorative justice. So now they have this Umoja Student Development Corporation. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Okay. Yes, taking ownership of their actions, understanding the harm the actions have caused. Right. Power of language. This is it, guys. The N-word, slurs, going to provide historical context, and then to engage student in the understand how to the use of derogatory language. What else are they going to add to the derogatory language list? Probably anything to do with things that they don't agree with. Let's see. Yes, many of these communications about equity share deeply personal stories about their time at New Trier. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yes. So this is basically the exact same thing, only they've added more. They've added more. They're actually doubling down. Okay. And I don't even want to click the annual plan. I don't see what the point is in looking at the annual plan. If there was a board, the amendment to the board, and that's up there, it's probably the same. But I'll put the link in the description box so you can go check. What's my point? My point is not to just be a naysayer. It's to call your attention to language, the importance of language, that here's this letter. If you were a parent and you got this, you might feel reassured until you realize that they don't consider it a perspective, least of all a valid one, to disagree with white fragility, the concept of anti-racism, with the premise that the United States is inherently racist, with the premise that whiteness exists, that affinity groups are a good thing, etc. You're not. Those are not viewpoints. Those are not perspectives that are probably welcome because they've literally declared to you what their mission is and what they think is good. So if you sit there and say, I disagree, I don't think this is good, they may well say, that's not civil discourse. We've already decided as a community that this is good. You must not be inclusive. Now you're speaking in harmful ways. You're making other people feel unwelcome. See, and now we have to fulfill the charge of the cultivation of a school environment in which all students feel welcome. You're not making them feel welcome. Equity, inclusion, diversity. You don't agree? And are you going to sit there and say, no, I do think, no, but not equity. But you see how that's going to go? So this is why my message to you is don't be wooed by language like this. You've got to get down in the weeds and read the stuff like I just showed you about the policies and their actual directives for the departments and who's learning what and how are they training staff. And when you start to see the obvious, Robin DiAngelo, white fragility, affinity groups, Latinx with an X, and I mean, all of this, it's already in there. Anti-racism, CRT, that's the point of view that they're taking. There's no good spin on that. And if your child goes into this environment and they want to be one of those people who disagrees, first of all, if they have the guts to voice disagreement, this little policy isn't going to protect them because all they have to do is say that speech constitutes hate speech. It is racist. They've already told you it's white fragility. It's racist to deny systemic racism. It's racist to argue with Robin DiAngelo. You're just confirming what a racist you are. You're just confirming that you are harmful. Your speech is hate speech. You're not making people feel welcome. This isn't what they want. They're saying your child needs to listen to the other children. You get how that works? They're talking about critical thinking, meaning critical theory, that kind of critical thinking. They're not talking about the kind of critical thinking that you're talking about. And then down here in this part, the purpose of the statement is not only to integrate it in the annual plan, the one we just read, if not to preface the annual plan, the one we just read, but take an institutional stand or statement on civil discourse and critical thinking, staking out a claim that we engage and challenge students to think, to listen, to discuss real and controversial issues, and develop the skill to navigate multiple perspectives and think through our own assumptions, beliefs, and biases. That's the money quote. To confront, dismantle, deconstruct, bankrupt your biases. That's what they're saying. Their definition of critical thinking is not the same as yours and mine. Their definition of a safe place for all viewpoints is not the same as yours and mine. Because they cannot conceive, or they refuse to conceive, of a safe place in which a viewpoint that disagrees with all of this stuff could possibly exist. It's by definition not safe. It's by definition not civil. So, first point is don't get sucked into this. Look at the words, ask for definitions of terms. Second point, You need to ask much more principled questions of the administrations of these schools. Will there be segregated lessons? Will you be referring to students as the white students and the non-white students, or the students of color? Will you in the classroom be addressing white students using any kind of assumed negative traits? Will you be using stereotypes? Will you be making assumptions about my child? Will you be telling my child what his or her agreement or disagreement means? Will you be telling my child what they feel or what they should feel? You need to get down into, you need to really hone in on these things and ask these questions. What if my child or I do not agree that equity is a worthy goal? Equity being equal outcomes. What if you or I do not agree? What if the teacher and I and the school and I do not agree that it is equally important to have a safe environment in terms of everyone's feels are nurtured as it is to have my child learn their basic skills and what they came here to learn in their individual achievement? What if I disagree? What if I disagree that it should be a priority to have affinity groups by race? What if I think that's inherently racist? Is that a welcome opinion? Can we discuss that controversial topic at this school? Or am I going to be labeled a racist and my child labeled a racist? These are the questions you really need to ask. But I understand why Erica was hopeful that this meant something. I really do. I think we're all looking for these schools to step up for our kids, for all our kids, and say, yeah, we're not going to go down this racist path of critical race theory, and we welcome viewpoint diversity. But that's not what this means. They actually don't. This is just to kind of soothe you, because if it's even directed at you, I'm not even sure it is. I don't even know that this is directed at critics of CRT. I think they actually believe that this means something, like that they actually believe these words and the meanings I just gave you. They actually believe that it's not civil to disagree with anti-racist teaching. I think they really believe that. I really do. And the ones who don't, the cynics who are just putting this out there to kind of put you off the scent, the ones who are more like those Missouri people who are like, shh, don't tell the parents. They know that you need the schools. You need the public schools. And they know that criticism has been coming in, but they're not about to change what they're doing. So they're going to try to make you feel better as quickly and easily with as little fuss as possible. And they throw something like this out there. And most people, because they want to believe it so badly, will be reassured, and that'll be the end of it. I hate to be the monkey wrench. I hate to be your buzzkill, but I just showed you why you shouldn't believe it. So I hope you found this helpful. You're really going to have to get a lot more granular with this stuff, guys. If you're going to use the public schools, this is the price you pay, or you could not use them. Thanks for watching. As always, like, share, subscribe, and comment. It feeds the algorithm. Thanks.